All right, there we go. So we've got a joint interview with Human Bodies and 1/3 of Ramlord
and friends.
And friends.
Yes, and Emily and Patrick.
You can.
Well, we have Mike from Ramlord.
Yes, Mike.
Paula.
This is Emily. She is a show promoter in the Boston area.
And New Hampshire.
And New Hampshire, and Tyler, who is I just called you Tyler.
Patrick.
Patrick. I know a Tyler Bradley.
Dude, I've been having too many Tylers in my life anyways. I understand.
Patrick, who is also a show promoter in New Hampshire. And Cavell Doof. And I play guitar in Human Bodies and vocals.
Whole lot of
I'm
musical
a third
assholes.
of Human Bodies. Yeah.
So how long of a tour were you guys just on?
We were on a 5.5 week tour. I think it was like 35 days total. So
Wow.
it's like about a little over a month.
And then you're leaving Friday, you said, and then gonna do more touring.
My other band Symptom is doing a few shows out on the West Coast. With Tom and Boot Boys from the street punk band, the pogo punk band from Japan is coming over for a few shows, and we're going as support.
So how'd you guys form?
So Human Bodies was started as basically a recording project, and I can even give the exact date, October 3rd of 2013. had me and Jason, our current bass player, had jammed a few times on some black metal riffs before then, but it wasn't until the beginning of October in 2013 I was working in a kitchen in Boston with a friend of mine who is the guitarist of Brandon, who plays in Forn and other bands, and he started working at the kitchen I was at, and we got together to jam, and it basically turned into a recording project. Our first demo we finished while I was on tour with another band, basically like recording riffs and sending them back and forth via email, and putting it together with drum programming, and basically just did it on the laptop, like via email.
Right. So you guys don't sound like it was just kind of like, oh, let's, go from punk to black metal. Like, you definitely know your stuff. Here's the first wave influences. I see a drummer with the old Bathory shirt. I mean...
Yeah.
I mean, how that, who's like the biggest black metal fan? Or is it all you guys, or?
I think, I personally, speaking for myself, I've always probably been more of a metalhead first, and punk was something when I was younger, growing up, like, my favorite bands were like Sepultura and Sepultura, Slayer, Metallica, and just whatever accessible mainstream metal was accessible to me, like Pantera and stuff like that. And I always thought punk was really goofy, to be honest, when I was in middle school, because the only punk that was accessible to me was like Rancid and No Effects and stuff like that. And I thought wow, this shit's really fucking lame. And then when I was in high school, I was more turned on to the crustier Oogle contingent of punk and bands like His Hero's Gone and Dystopia, which just sounded like metal to me, but a little more with the lyrics that I could relate to a little more, and an aesthetic that I really liked. And through that, I discovered a lot more punk, and then just the DIY approach to being an artist really resonated with me a lot, and was really into punk, and through that just ended up playing in a lot of punk and hardcore bands, but I've definitely personally always been more of a metalhead, and I think I can't speak for the other people involved with Human Bodies, but I know that we all listen to a fair amount of metal. It's not like we're jumping. I don't think we're we're not just jumping on a black metal bandwagon or anything. We're definitely
What about you, Mike? You follow the same path, or you bandwagon?
to my band wagon.
Yeah, you gravy train riding.
Oh no, it's been a good ride. No, but no, when I fucking started, I was always into, I was into punk mainly, like always listening to, the fucking Clash and the Ramones and shit, the stuff you start out with. And right after that, like, it was immediate send into, Discharge and, all of the fucking, Axe Grinder, all that shit, it was just, like, the people I knew, like, it's, what I was listening to, like, and I knew it and I liked it a lot because I also liked the fucking, the metal, aspect, and, I was always listening to fucking grindcore, like, as, I really did enjoy, listening to that shit, but it was always, like, the doom aspect that really got me fucking, going. It was always, like, the real dark shit.
There's a lot of crossover there with bands like Discharge and Axe Grinder.
Yeah, I mean, once it was Axe Grinder, then, the first time I heard, fucking Dark Throne and Emperor, it was like all set, It was like, of course,
Well, there it is.
Of course.
Yeah, it kind of seems like we got just, obviously New England has its huge hardcore scene, but that's kind of
hardcore
diffused
had
through the
another,
metal scene.
I mean, it definitely made it a little more, the metal scene a little more accessible too, because like, it plays the same shit that the fucking, metal scene was doing. Like, first time I listened to Entombed, like, was probably, like, when I was, like, a junior in fucking high school or whatever, and, I knew the fucking riffs because all the fucking hardcore bands that were big in high school were fucking playing them and ripping them off, and I was like, oh, I get it, but, like, Entombed does it better, and it was just really cool to fucking see all the similarities that a lot of bands have, but, like, just, the way that, the people who originated, like, did it, like, first, which doesn't really make it better at all. That's not necessarily true, like, in any construct, but, like, it's just all this new wave of fucking bands that come out of fucking Boston, fucking Providence and Philly. It's like they all know what they're fucking doing. Everyone's down with the cause, and it's good stuff.
So Patrick, you guys think that's fair to say that there's more like cross-pollination between metal and punk here than you'd see in other areas?
I don't know about so much absolute.
I disagree.
Absolute areas.
Yeah?
No.
I'll hear you out.
I'll disagree with. No. I completely. I'm on board with him. Like, I disagree. I think there's a lot of that's happening. It's been happening for quite a while. Back when like. Blood Wolf with like Full Metal, like punk, like what was it, the Full Metal hiking Viking punks and shit, and
the Rochester metal punks.
Yeah, like
Metal Punk's Death Squad.
Oh my god, so
like that's
real.
that shit's been going on for a while, and like Gizm definitely fucking was like a big inspiration for that around here and shit.
I think there's been a lack of that in Boston for a while, where just punks are just like fuck metal,
Yeah.
Like, they don't see the relevance of it, but I see. And, like, Boston being a really transient city where things change so frequently, I see a lot of, like, younger punk kids who are really into metal and, like, really want to, like, play, like, their, like metal from a punk approach, which is awesome because I think metal is always better, like, coming from a punk, like, approach.
It kind of gives it like a new thrash feel to it.
Yeah, I definitely think, like, metal from a punk perspective is the best. That's, like, why bands like Sepultura, or, like, Bathory, like, or, like, a lot of
Overkill.
Black metal, was
like,
really
like the
great, because it was played by people who, like, understood punk, or came from a more punk background, and approached it that way.
So, switching gears on Human Bodies, I think you said was named after reference Cormac McCarthy's The Road.
Yeah.
What I've never read that. So how does that work out?
So I was like reading that book while we started the project, and like just there's one passage where The Road is a if you've never read it, it's a post-apocalyptic story, and I think it's one of the realist post-apocalyptic stories. Whereas like with like Road Warrior or whatever, there's this like exciting, like adventurous aspect to it, where the road is just, it's all desolate. It's just like
so bleak.
It's so bleak.
The most bleak book.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the most bleak.
Well, it's just, I mean, which is just everything Cormac Carthy does is just so bleak and nihilistic. But yeah, it's just very real, like the most real approach to post-apocalyptic world, and that it's just like there's nothing exciting about it. It's just like, all right, everything is our whole world is destroyed, and it's just like there's nothing to eat. I guess we'll just like walk aimlessly in search of like whatever rotten apples we can eat or whatever. But
there's no real winners.
Yeah, right. There's one passage where they come across like an old farmhouse and they go to explore it, searching for food, and they open like an old storage like container, and the passage is something like, you know, you like open the container and what is it? It just said like there's just one sentence where it just, you know, it leads up to it, or he's like walking into the farmhouse and he opens this container, and then just a standalone sentence, it's just his human bodies. It's just like sprawled in every attitude, like bodies, you know. It was just like so bleak. That stuck out to me. I was just like, so like the day again, like when me and Brandon got together to jam for the first time, we were like really stoked on the project and stoked to record, and like I got a name, Human Bodies. It's like, all right, that's it. You know?
That's awesome. No, that's real vivid. I think that works.
Yeah, it's
that scene is like the fucking scene in the book. You know?
Yeah.
That is just like so gut-wrenchingly horrible.
It wasn't the scene where there's a different scene where they go to that like redneck house.
Is that what I'm thinking of?
They have like the farm of humans in the basement.
They keep them in the basement.
Yeah,
and
they
have like no legs or arms. They're still alive.
They keep human beings alive in this basement and like chop off limbs to like eat. Like everyone becomes cannibals just like by default because there's nothing else to eat, and it's really fucked.
Should have still read the book.
So how'd you guys get booking so many shows like across the country for, I mean, relatively young band?
Well, I mean this is a relatively new project. However, we've all been in uncountable different, you know, bands, and all like collectively done a lot of touring throughout our time as, you know, doing music. So doing this tour was actually relatively easy, probably one of the easiest tours that I've booked, with help from Jason, our bass player. We booked it together, and which is, again, as far as like taking a punk approach to being in a metal band, I think a lot of bands just like wait around to like have you know, I mean, well, a lot of bands are lucky enough to be like have a booking agent or something do everything for them. However, where we don't have that luxury, and I kind of prefer that because doing your own tour booking and stuff, you have a little more investment in it,
right.
And you know, as far as just putting it in someone else's hands who doesn't have the same emotional investment in the project, therefore they're not going to care as much. And so yeah, this tour, I mean, booking it was stressful, in that it was a really long tour, and there was a lot of stuff that, you know, came together last minute, and, you know, in the weeks leading up to tour, I'm just like, fuck, are we, you know, even gonna have like these shows, like, are these happening? Right. But it all worked out really well. We have really great friends. We were fortunate to, you know some very, very great people who are really involved in their scenes around the country in the greater punk scene.
So no crises?
We had some van crises. But again, we're really fortunate that our drummer is an ace mechanic.
Nice.
Seriously, I never wanted to. I mean, Dan's been involved in a number of projects with me over the years, and it's always been really helpful. I mean, we've been touring in the same van for the last like 3 years, and that van is just like, even when we bought it, was a piece of shit, and we've managed to keep it on the road for a long time. I think this was definitely the last tour we'll ever do with it, because there were some close calls. But I mean, we had to do some wacky like roadside work on it. I mean, just like, in Austin, we had our rear axle start, like leaking gear fluid everywhere, and it's like, wow, our whole rear axle is about to fall off, and it was just like, go to an AutoZone, rent the parts, and jack it up and watch a couple YouTube videos on how to take apart your rear differential and do all that. I mean, it's all a bunch of technical shit that I won't get, that I don't even understand, but that, and then, like, we had to replace our radiator, but stuff like that. I mean, replacing our radiator, just, again, touring with Dan, it's just, that stuff has become as routine as just, like, doing an oil change. It's like,
that's awesome.
Just like, our radiator's blown, all right, let's pull over.
So when you're on tour, do you make, like, a space for his toolbox?
Yeah, we do. No.
That's probably the smartest thing a band could ever fucking do.
Yeah.
It really, having a
spare tire.
And if nobody in your band knows how to do it, get a fucking merch dude that does.
Yeah, exactly. Having someone that knows how to do that shit, because, I mean, it's being in a band is really expensive, and it's really putting, doing, Vans just, it's, you think, like, all right, it's just, even if you're doing, like, a 10-day tour, it's like, oh, it's just 10 days, but, like, you're driving so many miles every day and putting so much strain on your vehicle.
So how'd the split come about? You guys just got that out. Mike, you work on that at all?
I don't work on it recording-wise, but we do have a show coming up. It's Jan's project, like,
Are you doing the live
solely, but
lineup, or?
We're doing a show at the Test Fest in Philly. It's, just a, weekend where it's like, fucking, 20 bands that are local to the area are going to be playing, but Pink Mass, Leather Chalice is on it, And
you'll be on guitar?
I'll be on guitar, Ben will be on drums. We have our good friend Tim Lang, who's got his own project called Crossover, which is, really good, and, we're just, helping, Jan out, because he has this good project. He just did it himself, so, we're going to be playing the instruments.
How'd the two groups come together?
We've all known each other for a while. Me and Jan were briefly in a project together called Ultra Negative. Jan and Jason, our bass player, have known each other for years through the punk scene. Suburban Showdown. Jan's old band.
Classic.
Jan played in a punk band like 2 years ago called Suburban Showdown. When we recorded the No Life EP, we actually recorded a total of 8 songs, and only 6 of them made it onto that EP. And the 2 of them we set aside, we're planning on doing a split with Sengus from Providence.
Awesome.
And their material just wasn't, got delayed, and then we had this tour that we were booking coming up, and we really want to try and get the 7-inch out in time for tour. So I actually just hit up Jan to see if he knew anyone who had material ready, and it turned out that he was in the exact same situation, and that he had this material recorded, which was meant for another split, but it wasn't happening, and it also was 2 songs, same length, running length. So
he's like, I know someone, me.
Yeah, exactly. I know someone, me. So unfortunately, we weren't able to get it out in time for this past tour, which I was bummed about. But then I've found that that's everyone I've talked to in the American scene, punk and metal scene, has been in the same boat in terms of vinyl just not being ready when you need it to be. Right. Everything's super backed up because it's just the craze right now, and a lot more obviously pop bands are pressing things on vinyl, and there's a very limited number of plants which press vinyl. So obviously, the new Lady Gaga LP is going to take priority over the Human Bodies Leather Chalice split. So everything's pushed back a lot.
So what's next for you guys?
Right now, we are taking a short break to focus on other projects, and planning to reconvene in November to finish writing our first LP, which is, for the most part, written. We just have to, embellish a few things and whatnot. And we have some plans for that release, and then after that, hopefully, just do some more tours. I'd like to be in Europe this time next year, and planning on doing that, and do more touring around New England, East Coast, and hopefully go out to the West Coast again.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Do you have any contacts in Europe?
Some. It's really like, as it's all mildly hypothetical right now. That plan.
I have some very, very strong connections for you.
Awesome. Hell yeah.
Some English dudes that I did a tour for from over here in Baltimore.
Oh, okay, cool.
I talk to them all the time. They're in a band called Crocodile and a couple of others.
Oh, okay.
Is that like the Russian drug?
Yeah, it's the Russian drug. They're badass dudes, and like they play like they're pretty well connected with tours and stuff over there, so they could definitely help you out.
Sick.
And Mike, what's Ramlord gonna be up to?
Right now we have a couple shows that are going to be happening. We also had this like Leather Chalice thing going on where we're all involved, but a second full length is definitely in our in our future, in our sights, and we started writing. We probably have about 10 minutes worth of shit, but it's just so many splits coming out at once and so many shows like going on. Like we're just really just trying to get the momentum going just to kickstart this new record, because I haven't talked to Jan about it because he's the guy who does all the major shit going on, and he's probably got a absolute backlog of stuff that he wants to do. So what we're gonna do is probably kick it off with another full length. We already we already have all of our splits out. We got like 3 or 4, and I think we're just gonna do that full length. Get it right down to.
He is a writing
thing. A million splits.
Yeah, no, maybe that's how it started happening. We were this full length, and all of a sudden, split after split after split.
Splits.
You write 9 songs, and all of a sudden you got fucking
9 splits.
9 splits.
But like even more.
But
I don't know. I think splits are the best, is because somebody will buy it for one band, and then they get another band, and it just helps expand.
Well,
It's just yes.
So, any last words, guys?
You're awesome.
Hails.
Yeah.
take it away.
Tonight was fun.
Tonight was great.
Yeah, it was great.
This venue is kind of interesting.
It's weird.
Yeah,
but they're
it's
like
really
so
good
fucking
food.
about it. It's so.
I like it though. I think it's
Yeah.
good.
I like that they let them turn the lights off.
Yeah.
Light
yeah.
some candles. A lot of
Yeah.
places wouldn't do that. They'll say, no,
Yeah.
you'll burn it down.
Yeah, right.
Great White
I know.
style.
Oh my God.
Because they're all freaked out about that.
I should be so lucky.